Yeah, we don't have to talk about this game too much.
We missed.
That's on me, team. I pushed for this game, and I was wrong.
Well, I mean, as soon as I'll just start with this.
Sure.
It comes out that Miller Moss got hurt in a workout on Thursday, I believe, and then he ends up not playing. And at that point, there were already bad vibes around Louisville. And then it comes out he's not playing, and the bad vibes are suddenly terrible. You don't even have your starting quarterback, who's one of your better players, and in a lot of ways the engine of your offense. And then also the other engine of your offense, your running backs are banged up. A couple of them aren't playing. And all that culminates in you going to SMU and losing 38-6 in what's a blowout. Kevin Jennings does his thing. Once again, you don't have your quarterback, so you can't really test the bad coverage unit that is SMU's secondary.
Yep.
And so then their front seven just gets to stay stout all day. They don't have to worry about, helping in the secondary. They can stack the box, bring numbers, and it's just bad news bears. And there's just not really much else to say about this game, I feel. But if y'all want to chime in, feel free.
Yeah, I feel bad that I watched even seconds of this broadcast because I had to listen to Sam Acho.
For real?
He was on the broadcast.
That should be illegal.
Yeah. Not Emmanuel Acho, but either of the Achos are terrible. I hate's a strong word. I dislike them a lot.
I'd say I dislike Sam. I would say I think I hate Emmanuel Acho.
I think that's a fair one.
The meme where it's like Emmanuel Acho, it's Emmanuel Acho time. I don't know if you've seen that.
I haven't seen that.
But it's so accurate. Of like, you just know he goes on air and he's like, this is my time. Like, time to get my takes off.
Get into character.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, Miller Moss was a game-time decision, so they start the freshman, and it goes like you thought it would with any freshman quarterback, 12 for 17 for 94 yards through the air.
Yeah.
This is against a bottom-5 pass defense in the country, too. It's just atrocious. And SMU just cooks. Kevin Jennings protected the football. Credit to him. Bill Belichick's girlfriend had a day. And the day was ideal for SMU. Kevin Jennings was 29 for 37, 303 for 3 touchdowns. And Bill Belichick's girlfriend, Jordan Hudson, had 8 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown. And SMU now is essentially a lock to be in the ACC championship. They control their own destiny.
Yeah.
They just have to beat, I again forgot.
I got you. Give me a second.
Hold up. I literally just looked. I should remember this.
Cal. They go to Cal.
At Cal, who just fired the head coach to make the ACC championship game in Rhett Lashley's final year as the SMU head coach, potentially.
I think since there's not tons to talk about in terms of the game, and you just hit on how SMU now controls their own destiny, does this feel like, because I saw a Louisville Cardinal fan say this on Twitter, that this really feels like a lost season or like a missed opportunity, a chance that was lost because you go and beat Miami, and now you've gone on this absolute slide. And some of it's injuries, you can't control that, but they've definitely lost some games they shouldn't have lost. And that's something we didn't necessarily, Jeff Brom was good at that, at avoiding slides, consistent finishes. And now if you go lose to Kentucky, it's 7-5.
Yeah. And
that really just feels very disappointing. Would you all agree with that assessment?
I would 100% agree. You can't.
If they beat Kentucky and they go 8-4, would you still feel a little disappointed?
Yes,
with their season?
I would.
Because I think 7-5, it's so obvious to say they're disappointing. Like, there's no really argument there.
Because Miller Moss played in the Cal and Clemson game, and I would argue losing at home is what hurts the worst. And they lost 3 games at home this year in ACC play against Virginia, Cal, and Clemson. That can't happen. You need to win those games at home. The issue coming into the season and why I think people could have been potentially low on Louisville was because they had to go to Miami and to Virginia Tech and to SMU and to Pitt. But they've handled their business for the most part there. They're 3-1 on the road. At home, you can't lose those kinds of games. It hurts. I think it's definitely a disappointment, regardless of what happens in the Kentucky game, which at this point, there's no guarantee that goes their way. They're only 3.5-point favorites against Kentucky and Mark Stoops.
And those first 3 losses were by combined 7 points. I think that's another thing that hurts a lot. Like you said, the 3 losses at home. And like you said, coming into the season, their schedule looked not way harder. It turned out to be a challenging schedule, but that Miami game and the Clemson game and the SMU game all loomed very large.
Mm-hmm.
And then you handle the Miami game, and then you end up, losing a close game to Virginia, but you still get to 7-1, and Virginia is a top 15 team, so it doesn't matter. And then that 2-game split, two losses by 4 points, both at home. It does feel like a lost season, kind of. And this didn't happen, so it's not a good comparison. But had Oregon lost that USC game after the Penn State win, it kind of feels like you could start making a similar argument for that Louisville win over Miami was Oregon's win over Penn State, where you reach that high and then it's downhill from there. You lose to Indiana at home, and then if they lost to USC, now you're outside of the playoffs. I feel like Louisville's in a similar situation where, they reached this peak, and you kind of thought that there was a real shot at the playoffs or an ACC championship appearance, and then you're going to finish the season at 7-5 or 8-4.
Yeah, I will say I feel like it's a little different.
It definitely is.
Just because the expectations there of Oregon expects to win that Penn State game. They expect to be squarely in the playoff conversation. Louisville's kind of this team that hopes to be in the playoff conversation. We talked about in the preseason show in terms of when we previewed their season. It was like they've kind of been this well-oiled machine that likes to win 9 games a season, 8, 9, 10 games a season, including bowl games. But do they have the juice and the chops to break through to that top tier? And we were wrong because they didn't stay at the well-oiled machine, and now they could finish 7-5, and that's not kind of their consistent floor. It's just one season, very fluctuation happens. They can easily bounce back, but it is in the sense of they peaked early, and they probably after that game did not think this is where they would end up. That is a similar comparison. Now Oregon won the game, so they don't have to worry about it. But
to talk about them positively, though, they kept their head coach in a crazy head coaching cycle.
Yeah, and I
Miller
really
Moss.
like Jeff Brom. I think this is more of an anomaly than a sign of things to come.
Miller Moss returns next season, and anything's possible.
Yeah, anything is possible.
They're going to win a big game next year again. They just got to capitalize down the stretch.